My mind is upset. I can change my mindset. Do not be thrown offset. Rumor time, reset. Rumor time.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the ARC podcast. That's the Access Rumor Time
Conversations. Yay,
podcast.
yay.
And my name is Vanessa Kelly Brew, and I am one of your hosts for this evening.
And my name is Georges Prosper, and I'm another one of your co-hosts, and I'm happy to be with you guys during this quarantine time.
All right, and I am Geneva Fleming, bringing you greetings all the way from the Carolinas.
All right, and I am Dr. Yvonne Laria, and I am one of your co-hosts. And it's so good to be back again. And we're thankful and grateful for technology.
Amen.
Yeah.
I just love these connections across the miles.
Yeah.
It's great when it works, and so
It works
it is working well for us tonight.
In this moment.
In this moment in time, we are grateful. And speaking of technology and it being great, you know, what a remarkable piece of technology. I can't come up with a different word right now during this time that we're in with this pandemic. You know, where, social distancing.
Remember we saying physical distancing.
Social isolation. Right. Because I'm getting to that. Because what I believe what people are doing, you know, when they think social distance, and you know, of course they are isolating, and then that's just another whole issue. You know, brings on another whole problem with the social isolation. So, but because of technology, we don't have to be isolated, is my point.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know, I'm thankful for all the devices that we have so that we can keep in touch. And I'm just so thankful. You know, I have been in touch with family and friends all over the globe because of this little piece of technical device, you know, this cellular telephone. And so families are able to keep up with one another because of technology. So thank God for technology.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
All right. Well, listen, we talked last week about a lot of the fallout that has come from this COVID-19. And so we've talked about several different things. But tonight, I think we'd like to focus on the inter and intrapersonal imbalances that are also a part of this fallout from this coronavirus. And so how about we talk about that a little bit this evening?
Okay.
Right.
So I guess we should start off with what we mean by inter and intrapersonal imbalance.
Yeah.
So the inter and intrapersonal imbalance is a part of the definition of the RUMERTIME process. And as you know, the show is Access RUMERTIME Conversations. And so our conversations are framed or are couched in this RUMERTIME process. An interpersonal imbalance is when there is instability or unequalness, right? Unequalness. One side is, outweighing another side. And so the interpersonal imbalance or instability is when we have imbalance in our relationships with others, okay? Interpersonal means how we interact with others, how we get along with others, when we're hanging out with other people, what that's like. Okay, so that's inter, I-N-T-E-R, personal imbalance. And intra, I-N-T-R-A, personal, is within ourselves. So, what are my thoughts within me? What are my thoughts? What am I thinking about me? What is my attitude toward myself, within myself? Do I have an attitude of, oh my goodness, I don't matter? Okay, that's an attitude. What are my attitude or mindsets, right? Then my thoughts. What am I thinking about myself? I think I am fat, or I think I am ugly. Intra. And what are your emotions? Your emotions toward within yourself, about yourself. I feel anxious. I feel fearful right now because of COVID. Those are inside, within me. And that's what intrapersonal imbalance is. And then we talked about the interpersonal imbalance.
Well, thank you for giving us that description and that understanding of the difference between the two. Again, that's interpersonal imbalance and intrapersonal imbalance. And I know that when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned that you had spoken to your students about their feelings with this COVID virus. And so they were able to share with you some of their feelings. And so, what would that be an example of? Would that be an example of inter or intrapersonal?
Right. Well, some of the descriptors that they used, and these are graduate students in a master's program. And so here are some of the words, some of the descriptors of their emotions. And I'll share with you some of the intra, right? The words that depicted or meant or related to within oneself. A sense of hesitancy, feeling unsure, feeling uncertain, anger, a sense of powerlessness, fear, anxiety, worry, frustrated, feeling trapped and stuck, frustrated. Those were some of the words that show or describe intrapersonal. Then there are some that describe inter in terms of relationship with others, right? Missing family, right? The relationship, they're missing relationship. Teenagers being isolated, right? That's about interpersonal relationship. Somebody knowing that they have to go to work, feeling that they have to go to work. If they don't go to work, then they were told they would get fired if they don't show up. That's interpersonal relationship imbalance. That's interpersonal imbalance. Then we also have some physiological outgrowths of the COVID-19. Some people experiencing heart rates going up, blood pressure going up, sleeplessness, some of the other, so some of those relationships, people not, people losing jobs or jobs being threatened, and some people frustrated with others in a certain age group who are not taking the physical distancing seriously, especially when they see other people their age doing things that will cause the spread of the virus. So those are when it's external to one's intra, and it focuses on relationships. That's the interpersonal.
Thank you. So Georges, I know that when we had spoken a little bit earlier, you said that you gave an example of how you were transporting some, what is it? The PPE.
Yes, that's protective equipment for nurses, doctors, and those professionals working in a hospital. Me and my partners, we're going around different parts of Indiana to pick up these equipment and these masks and these breathing devices, um, today we noticed that there was a group of kids. They're all between, I want to say between the teenage and early 20s, and they're playing basketball. And one of my coworker who I go out with, he's a pretty popular coach within the community, and he goes and asks them, "Hey, do you guys know that we're supposed to be in house right now? We're supposed to be on quarantine because we don't want this to spread." And one of the guys told him, he said, "Look, man, I'm in my early 20s. I'm healthy. I need to do this because this is fun for me." And my coworker proceeded to tell him, "Hey, you might be a carrier, and take it to those who you love who are not within that age group, or who are not able to, their bodies might be dealing with challenges and they're not able to recover like you. So just because you don't consider yourself as a person that might catch it, you can catch it and be a carrier and bring it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And then that person might not be able to recover like you think that you are." And even that's a false idea, because there's some individuals who are in their 20s. If you don't know, and I'm pretty sure no one wants to figure out that they have health complications by getting the coronavirus, and then you find out that you're at risk. So for me, I'm asking everyone, if you can, just stay home. Just stay home, because that's the best thing to do. And if you, and I know you have to go do your shopping and take care of your family and all, no problem. But try to stay home as much as you can, because it reduces the risk of you actually catching the virus and spreading it between your loved ones.
Thank you. I totally agree with that. I think that is the hard part for a lot of the younger kids, is that they don't take this as seriously. Like, they hear it, but because they feel like they're in a certain age bracket, they feel like they're almost immune to it, I think, is what they are thinking. But you brought up some really good points, that even if you don't have it, or if you don't have any of the symptoms, you very well could take it back to someone who is not, or someone who is more susceptible of getting the disease. And so I think that is something that is very real with the younger population. So, yeah.
Let me just interject. I think what George has just shared is a great example of some intrapersonal imbalances in terms of thought. There's lack of knowledge, but the thinking of a person, or maybe the lack of ability to think or discern about the possibilities and potentials about how the disease can or cannot spread. It suggests it is an imbalance, because it's one thing to think about oneself and have a thought or a mindset or an attitude like, I'm okay and no harm is going to come near me, but not having thought that you were on a basketball court with a group of other people. So the lack of sensitivity to the issue can put everybody at even greater risk. Would you agree in that area?
Yeah, and absolutely. And in the RUMERTIME process, that skill or ability is what we call social awareness. The ability to be socially aware, to show empathy, to show concern for others, and not just those around you, but for issues that surround that are part of our society. A lack of social awareness is the inability to be other focused, to be able to walk in somebody else's shoes, to be able to say, you know what, I may want to play basketball now. I may want to go do X, Y, and Z. I may want to go to the beach and, enjoy my spring break. But for the greater good, I will do X, Y, and Z. I will stay home. I will plant my butt in my house. Okay. I heard people are just sending all kinds of things on social media. And here's one of the things that I found to kind of go along with what I was just saying in terms of social awareness, the lack of social awareness, which is it shows a lack of empathy, a lack of being other focused. And somebody gave this joke, and I'm trying to find it. They found a great plant, plant, to counteract COVID-19. It's now being dubbed the COVID plant by scientists and herbal doctors. So here it is. Just plant your butt on your couch or on your bed. Plant your foot in your house. And don't accept any visitors. And it's written in patois. So I can say it how they say it. But basically, and don't accept any visitors in your yard. Even if them bring Irish Spring soap and lotion from foreign, or them carry rice and peas and French fried chicken with oxtail gravy, for you. Don't be selfish. Please share this plant with everyone.
I love it. I love it. Plant this derriere on your own chair.
There you go. So plant, that's the plant that is going to help solve the COVID problem.
Absolutely. That's cute. Thanks for sharing that. That's funny.
And it talks about being able to be other focused. And so that's self-awareness.
I have a question. Do you ladies think that right now during this time, several people's inability to focus on others and challenges that were hidden under the microcosm of not seeing one another, like relationship issues, because I don't have to be in the house now, I could walk out whenever I want to. I don't have to be around you if I don't want to. I could go for a drive. I could go for a walk. Now that we have to stay confined, are we going to see a rise of issues between marriages, between friends and loved ones? Are we going to start to see like a shift within our community? And the reason why I say that, I was listening to a popular radio station today, and one of the speakers said, right now, domestic violence is at a really high place because couples are not able to separate right now because they have to be near one another. Where in the past, they could find a way out of the home or pretend like they don't hear the person or just disregard them and run off to go someplace else. Now you have to stay quarantined in this place, and you're going to be in a place where you and the other person might not communicate the best. Do you think during this time we might start to see a rise of more issues coming up within the household? And how do we handle that?
Georges, I think that is a great question, and that is absolutely a great point. And what we're going to do is take a break, and when we come back, I think we can get into that.
Are you and your family seeking healthy mindsets, actions, relationships, knowledge, emotions, resources, and skills? Well, backed by popular demand, GC Scored presents RUMERTIME Family Summer Camp, a social emotional wellness program starting June the 14th to the 26th at the venue St. Michael and All Angels Episcopal Church, down to the roots.
The Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast is brought to you by GC Scored and the Leadership Institute, and your co-host, Dr. Yvonne Murray-Larrier, Dr. Geneva Fleming, Vanessa Kelly-Brew, Lynn Prosper, and Georges Prosper. Thank you for listening. Welcome back to the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast.
All right, we are back. And so before we left, Dr. Larrier, you gave us the definition of both interpersonal and intrapersonal imbalance, and then you gave us some examples of both. We also heard from Georges as he talked to us about being able to talk to a group of young men as they played basketball, and their idea of not being able to get the coronavirus. And so that they were able to share with them that even though they may not have any of the symptoms, they could very well be, what is the word, carriers. They could very well be carriers and infect someone else unknowingly. And right before the break, Georges asked us a question. He wanted to know what we thought, panel, about it was about abuse. The fact that now that everyone is been asked to stay inside, you know, people now are in closed quarters with each other, and they've been this way now for at least a couple weeks now, right? And so and that has a lot of people stressed. Anxieties are high, and so one of the things that could come from that could be abuse. And so he was wondering what our thoughts of that are. So what do you guys think?
Well, I'll chime in. Certainly, I believe. I mean, I'm not the researcher, but just my awareness on the fact that humans typically lack skill set. That's one of the things that's good about the Access RUMERTIME conversation and the RUMERTIME process, the availability of that, and the intent and the aim of the RUMERTIME process is to, you know, help us to renew our minds, really, when we dive deep, when we dig deep, help us to renew our minds so that we can transform our lives. And what it does is really point to the greater work that really needs to happen. I expect that because of the lack of people's ability to, they just don't understand. And the sad part is people don't know what they don't know. So if they don't know how to properly manage relationships, and even before management, if they lack the skill sets necessary to identify, to be aware of what some of the root causes are in relationships, if they don't know how they might be contributing to a situation or a problem, if they never learn those things, and now you're almost forced to relate, and you don't have the skill sets and the wherewithal on how to do that, I expect there might be explosion. I expect that there may be an increase in domestic violence situation. I'm all the more fearful for children, which is, it's related, but another whole dynamic of this being closed in and the potential for violence and abuse against children. So yes, we're just beginning to see the tip of the iceberg in terms of the fallout. That's the term Vanessa used earlier. The fallout of this pandemic. You know, we're just scraping the tip of the iceberg now with the stuff that we're seeing. I want it to be different, but let's hear from somebody else.
So I wasn't trying to cut you off, Geneva, but I totally agree with everything you said. And George has asked the question, if we think there is going to be, there already is, George's, there's an increase in the prevalence of domestic partner violence, or intimate partner violence and domestic violence. There's also an increase in child abuse. And April is Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. And this, in the US, they're predicting that the peak of this coronavirus is going to be somewhere mid-April, late April in our state, and I think 11 other states. School is face-to-face school has been canceled for the rest of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
We know that child abuse is an external external violence against, is sexual, is physical,
Mm-hmm.
is emotional, but mainly sexual and physical toward children. When parents or adults who are caring for children are losing their jobs, I think this afternoon I heard on the nightly news that the unemployment claims, they've been, I want to say it's gone up to like about 2 million in the last week.
It's
No,
skyrocketing.
as
It's
of
off the chart.
today, it's 6.6 million.
There you go. I didn't
And
want to.
there's still some people
Wow.
who have not been able to get through.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it is going to continue to rise.
Exactly, right? And this is it, and the pandemic has not peaked yet in the US.
Wow.
Imagine, because here's one of the ways that a big reason why the people violate other people. When you, as an individual, are unable to recognize, understand, and manage your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions, that spills out. It spills out from within you in ways that are unhealthy, damaging, violating, and abusive. Those intrapersonal thoughts, interactions, mindsets, and emotions start from within you. And if they are not managed, if they're not recognized, if you don't understand them, and when external circumstances like pandemics occur, that's how people unhealthily express themselves, right? In unhealthy and unproductive and destructive ways. They lash out at people and vulnerable populations like children. And so domestic violence is going to increase, and child abuse is not going to. It is increased, it has increased, and it's going to continue to rise. And also, child abuse is going to increase. And also, here's another issue. Parents are not equipped to be teachers. And this is an opportunity
Yes.
for us to really appreciate teachers. And so the frustration level that parents are going to experience, and I'm talking about parents who, let's say, their children have no, social, emotional, or behavioral issues. They are frustrated trying to homeschool. Imagine parents who have children, homes where there are children with behavioral, emotionally disturbed diagnoses, learning disabilities, all the things that schools deal with on a regular basis. Parents now have to do it in their homes, and they're not skilled, they're not trained.
Mm-hmm.
On top of having to do their own work if they still have a job.
Yes.
So I'm going to stop right now.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, this is so it is so relevant. The points that you mentioned, I believe I heard it said earlier. One parent was able to identify the fact that her children are extra needy, and I'm not sure what all that meant, but it may point to the fact of that parent's lack of awareness regarding the needs of the children, because while they may be describing it like now that they see that the children are extra needy, perhaps that didn't just start. Those needs were probably there, but they were being met by someone else, like the teachers, for instance. And you mentioned the fact about now they're having to be teachers, at home. They're having to monitor. And that's on top of, one of my students shared, because the institution where she works is closed to the public, employees are now working from home. So the expectation for them to still be working, be on the computer, because they're being monitored. She has to be on that computer 8:30 to 5. Yes. And then she has these school-age children that she has to work. It creates another huge dynamic for failure. but this, what can you do? What can we do in a situation like that? But that is a real living, moving, breathing situation that people are experiencing. They're looking for help, for relief. Looking for an oasis in the desert,
And I think also with that being said, it's a perfect time for them to work on the RUMERTIME process with their children. Absolutely. And even to figure out times when they can evaluate themselves as parents to see, like, how am I feeling right now? Am I frustrated? Am I angry? Am I irritable? Because before you can get to the process of harming a child, or just being disgruntled and taking your frustrations out on another adult in the house, you're going to feel that anxiety, that pressure, that frustration come up. And it's a perfect time to start practicing some good skills that might help you alleviate some of those issues or minimize them, so then they don't grow out of control. So I think it's a time for parents to kind of like self actualization, to be able to look at self and identify, hey, where am I at? I know I'm not used to parenting 24 hours a day, but now I'm in a situation where I have to parent 24 hours a day. I have to be a teacher, a mom, a worker. I'm getting pulled in all these different directions. And as a father, I'm getting pulled in different directions. And you still have no control, because this thing has allowed us to see, even if you have money, you're not safe. It doesn't matter what economic status you're at, you're not safe. So even though you're feeling this way, identify those feelings and then make sure you don't allow yourself to get to the next place with the ones that you love. Maybe it's a time that those things that you guys have been hiding under the rug or throwing under the rug all this time, pick the rug up now and say, all right, we're going to have to start dealing with some of this. And this is the perfect time. As a family, you can walk out of this being bruised, or you can walk out of this, emotionally bruised, not the other bruise, emotionally abused, or you can take this opportunity to start the healing process as a family, as a couple, whatever's been going on. It might be time. You could go on quarantine dates. Hey, I'm going to go fix up the living room. I'm going to go fix up the basement. I'm going to cook something for you. Just stay in the room a little bit. It's a perfect time to do so. Even with the kids, if you don't have that good relationship because of work that kept you away from the kids, it's a perfect time to see, hey, what are my kids actually learning in school? Are they where they need to be? And there's so many apps and different sites that you could go to learn about how to help your kids during this time continue to excel within their education. Choose that time. If you need to Zoom with the teacher, with the child, to say, hey, they're stuck over here. What can I do to help them? Or what can you do to help them? This is the perfect time to, as a family, learn how to grow and to understand each other's shoes. Why does mom come home so stressed out and tired? What is it that am I dealing with as a teenager that I'm not willing to talk, but now I don't have any other outlet. I have to speak at home. How do I do that? this might be a perfect time to start that growing and healing process as a family. So
absolutely, and those are relevant questions that you are suggesting that parents and that what we all could do. I just want to share again. Last week during our show last week, we mentioned that we have tools and some resources that may be of assistance to parents and families during this time. And if you check out the link, send us an email. The information should be at the bottom of your screen, the bottom of this podcast. Reach out to us, and we're here to help families problem solve, help them to get through this tough time that we're all experiencing.
Mm-hmm. And some of those tools, the tools that Geneva is talking about, are created and produced by GC Scored. You can go to our website. Our website is www.gcscored.org or www.everypiece, Piece, matters, everypiecematters.com. And like Geneva said, that information is at the bottom of your screen, of your podcast, and we are here to help. And GC Squad is coming out with something exciting, and not just exciting, but very relevant for the listening audience, not just the listening audience, but for anyone who would like to avail themselves of it. And we're excited to continue to serve and increase access, because that's our number one goal, is to increase access, to educate, equip, and empower. And this is a time where we need that more than ever.
You know, this was some pretty stimulating conversation we just had. And so what we are going to do, though, is we're going to take another quick break. And when we come back, maybe we can talk a little bit about how the listeners can rumorize or use the rumor time process to help them during this time by recognizing their thoughts and understanding them, their mindsets, right, and emotions. And so when we come back, let's talk about how they can use this rumor time process to help them.
How would you like to take your life coach with you wherever you go? Well, GC Scored can make that happen for you. Purchase the RUMERTIME Guided Activity Journal on Amazon.com or directly from GC Scored's online store at www.org for the price of $19.99. Welcome back to the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast.
All right, welcome back. When we left you guys, before we were talking about the fact that since everyone now is in closed quarters, how that increases the risk for child abuse. Because one of the things that Yvonne had shared was the fact that parents are not equipped to be teachers. And we also talked about the fact that people have been pulled in several different directions. So not only are some people working from home, but they are still parents now 24/7. They are maybe married, or if not, if they're single parents. So that is on top of being enclosed adds another stress, right? So I'm working, I am a parent now 24/7. And so that means not only do I have the responsibilities of still making sure that I'm cooking and cleaning, but now also I have to make sure that I'm helping my kids with homework that I don't even understand how to do. And so that adds some more stress on top of, the stress of already being, having to stay inside, and the stress of this COVID, right? This COVID-19, because again, we're still dealing with the fact that we don't quite know who has it, who doesn't have it. We can't go outside. And so all of these are stresses that have been added onto people as they are inside of their homes now. And so what we would like to do is give you, the listeners, some tips, some tools, some things that you can do to help you through this time where you are like inside the home and maybe where stresses are increased.
So one of the things I think we could talk about is parents' own anxiety, recognizing your own anxiety and feelings of overwhelm. And recognizing is the first step in the RUMERTIME process. So what should parents do in terms of these intrapersonal feelings or thoughts, right? Because last week we talked about that at the root of emotions, mindsets, and interactions are thoughts, right? That's where it all starts. And so help parents during this time. George just talked earlier about this is a great time for people to get to know each other within their homes. But I think we need to even go further than that. It's a great time for people to start getting to know themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? Because we have had so much distraction all along. And one of the things that this COVID-19 has done is basically stripped us of all the noises.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we are sitting in silence. Okay, we're sitting in silence. There's no extracurricular activities to run to. There's no, all these meetings at the office, late meetings, these different engagements. I mean, tons of stuff that filled our physical space, took up our time, but also took up cognitive space as well as emotional space. Geneva, you want to say something?
Yeah, right. I'm sorry I had myself muted, but I'm chuckling because I'm like, yeah, all those things that was occupying real estate that was not investing in who we really are.
Right.
So now we are here in silence, and that's a question we need to ask. Who am I really?
Who am I?
I'm more than just the secretary over there on that job. I'm more than just the whatever you've been doing. What I do doesn't make me who I am.
Exactly.
So now that I'm not able to do, I need to figure out, well, who am I really? Because that's the $1 million question that people need to do, that introspection and self-reflection.
Exactly. Right. And so the term for humanity is called, for mankind, is that we are human beings. But we have taken that and made it human doings. And now we have to revert
to come back to who we really are.
To human beings.
Good point.
And we don't know, so many times we don't know who we are and how to be. Right? How to be. It's like, how you be, man? How you be? Right? We need to ask that question. How am I being? How am I being? How is my being right now?
Yeah.
And so that's where we have to start. And the RUMERTIME process helps us to, in a very systematic and simple way, helps us to recognize if all we do let's say in the next 10 days is recognize your thoughts about yourself, your thoughts about other people in your family, your thoughts about your situation right now, the COVID, and also your thoughts about being locked in the house, your thoughts about how you have been a parent or a spouse or a significant other for the next, until we come back to the show. What I would ask people to do is, one, get our journal, our RUMERTIME guided activity journal, and just start with just that first step. Identify, recognize, acknowledge, admit, who am I and what are my thoughts about myself. And remember, we talked about the intrapersonal. So what's within you, your thoughts, your interactions, how do you treat yourself? That's interacting. How do you interact with you? Are you kind to yourself? Are you unkind to yourself? Because understand this, and this is, it's a fact whether there's corona or not. How you see yourself, how you think about yourself is going to be reflected in your relationships with others. There's no getting, you can, as my mother would say, as my 90-year-old mother would say, jump high, jump low. What you think about yourself is how you're going to treat yourself and others. And so, as great as this time is for, developing relationships with others and with even with God and with, whomever, it's you still, there's some things that coronavirus cannot take away. And that is, it has to start with you. You got to look at the man in the mirror and understand who he be. Who he be. And we're going to challenge you to spend the next 5 days until we come back next Thursday and recognize, identify, list, describe. Okay, that's step one. Your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions. I could say it another way. We want you to identify, list your thinking, your behaving, your attitudes, and your feelings about yourself, how you see yourself, how you feel about yourself, how you think about yourself, how you treat yourself as it relates to others and as you relate to your situation. And so that's what we want you guys to do.
I'm glad. Thank you for breaking that down, unpacking it that way. And I just want to reiterate to our listening audiences what Dr. Larry just explained is the time in RUMERTIME, the TIME. We're not talking about, what time of the day or night it is on your watch. But when we talk about time, we're talking about your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions. RUMERTIME. Rumor is to recognize, understand, manage, express, and reflect on your time, your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and emotion. And so your assignment over the next few days is to recognize your time, recognize your thoughts, recognize your interactions, recognize your mindsets and your emotions.
All right.
Perfect. And some people might think, oh, why do I need 5 days to do that? I promise you, you will realize how long it takes to even get past recognizing thoughts. Because many times what people do, when you ask them to tell you what they're thinking, they tell you what they're feeling. And in this process, in this RUMERTIME process, we are very intentional and very specific about teasing out and separating your thoughts, your behaviors, your attitudes, mindsets, and your feelings and your emotions. So it's not an easy process.
It isn't. And I just want to reiterate right here again that we do have tools to help provide some guidance through the process. So please take advantage of the tools that are already made available. Reach out to us. We are here to assist. And you can find that information, at the bottom of your podcast.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you all. I think this has been another good conversation. Certainly, I think everyone can identify with the feelings that you described earlier. The things, descriptive words that you listed from your students, Dr. Larry. And so I think the fact that you were able to give them the tools that they need to be able to identify how they are feeling is going to help them get through this process, right? And so again, I think we want to say thank you to the audience for being a part of this conversation. And again, if they have any questions, please, please, please contact someone with the information that is found at the bottom of the podcast. And I think with that, we always try to leave with something from each of us to leave with our listeners. So 10 seconds, everybody. Last words.
So for my last words, I just want to tell everyone to dig deep and remember that healing starts with the place that's most uncomfortable, but it will help you become a better person, not just for yourself, but for the ones that you love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I'll go on, and my 10 seconds is kind of piggybacking on yours, Georges, and it's something that was shared in the podcast, and it says, how you see yourself will be reflected in how you are in relationship with others.
And a good piggyback from that, I will share again, I will reiterate that what you do does not make you who you are. So take time to figure out and to know who you really are.
I would like to, there's so many different things I want to share, but I think I'm going to share this scripture. This is from Isaiah 26, 3-4. It says, "You, Lord, give perfect peace to those who keep their purpose and their mind focused on you and who put their trust in you." So trust in the Lord forever. He will always protect you. So in this time of high anxiety, high fear, this is one way to help you manage your thoughts, your interactions, your mindsets, and your emotions. You're managing by having a focus. Your focus is on God. And as you do that, you will experience an emotion of peace and also a mindset of peace when you place your purpose firmly in Him. And trusting in Him is your interaction. Okay? So, again, you, Lord, give perfect peace to those who keep their purpose firm and put their trust in you. Trust in the Lord forever. He will always protect us. Isaiah 26, 3-4. And those are my last 10 seconds.
Amen.
Good.
Right.
Real good.
All right.
It's a great
Thank you
closure.
all.
Great closure.
Yeah, well, thank you all for joining us, and don't forget your extended learning opportunities, not homework.
That's it.
Your extended learning opportunities. I call those ELOs. Focus on recognizing your time. Peace out.
You have been listening to the Access RUMERTIME Conversations podcast, where the time is always RUMERTIME, where we equip you to solve your problems one rumor at a time, where we educate you to transform your stories one rumor at a time, and where we empower you to become your own life coach one rumor at a time. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.